I may have to start over. I think my microphone was was muted. But so let me just basically start over. I'm not sure if you guys could hear anything I just said. So let me just start over. So this is the conservative take. This is my channel, the top 3 show, where basically we take 3 topics, topical with it. And I want to have a guest where I take one person do a topic and I take a topic, and the third time we take it together and collaborate. Last week, I didn't do that when we talked about our opening up America again. It was just me. With this time tonight, I will have a guest, and we're going to talk about the second topic and the third topic. The first topic I want to talk about is going to be what you saw on the thumbnail and the intro and the ads that led up to this. And so I said this before, my microphone was muted, so I'm not sure what you could hear. So let me just basically say this, that this first topic is obviously going to deal with Joe Biden and what he said. And what I said before is that unless you're under a rock, you don't understand what actually happened. Well, you might not know this. But essentially, Charlemagne the God with a lower G, I like to say, is a rapper. He had an interview with Vice President Joe Biden, who is running for president on the Democrat nomination. In fact, he pretty much has it, and he's running unopposed at this point. And so Charlemagne had this interview, and at the end of the interview, he asked Mr. Biden, he says, hey, why don't you come on out? We have more questions for you. Why don't you come out to New York, and we'll do a studio interview with you. And Joe Biden says this, he says, you've got more questions. Well, I tell you what, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. And that's the soundbite, right? But Charlemagne goes on to say, he says, look, it don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact that I want something for my community. And that's where they think muted out. So now we're caught up to speed. So that's the important part I'm going to talk about right there, is the fact that Charlemagne the God, Lord G, wants to do something for his community. And that's something that really resonates with me, because when I was coming up in the DC area, I was a liberal, I was a Democrat, I voted for Marion Barry, I voted for Clinton, I voted for Gore, all that. I did all that, okay? And I understand that, but my focus was helping the community. And I saw in the community a lot of frustrating things as I would drive into Southeast DC, Alabama Avenue, all that stuff going into DC. I would see every morning just what was going on. And this is basically in the 80s, right? And this is when DC was pretty much the murder capital of the world. In fact, it was. That's what it was called. So I get all that. And so my moving to a conservative platform or base has more to do with party shift and understanding what the true meaning of helping is about. And that's a whole other topic, but I want to give you some background. I bring this up because this main thing I want to talk about here is a discussion I had online with a friend of mine. And well, we were friends. I'm not sure if we're friends anymore, but I'm not going to put this person out there. She doesn't know what this is about, so I'm not going to even say that. And it's not my desire to embarrass anybody, because really what I really want to talk about was the fact that this was a very, very good discussion. And so I'm going to set the tone for it. It's a post. I'm not going to give you the whole context of it. But essentially, it came down to this, that she called me brainwashed because I don't know what's going on in the black community, that I can support Trump. And I basically asked her, okay, well, she said I'm brainwashed. I said, okay, well, if I'm brainwashed, tell me why I'm brainwashed, because I want to know. Because one thing about black conservatives is this. We've gone through the whole mental gymnastics of trying to justify why we are not supporting the party that we had been involved with for so long. The party that our parents are involved with, our family, the party that if we were to go away from that, we would be cast out. And that's no joke in some areas. So we understand all of that. So it's not really about being brainwashed. It's about being focused on what our intentions are and understanding where we want to go. And so I have this clip up here, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen. And I'm going to read it on my phone because it's too small for me to see here. And I believe this is the first one. This is the first one. Okay. So I'm going to read this. So what I did was I basically put her comments in, I indented with some arrows, greater than signs. And I'm going to read basically what she said in my response to this. Okay. So she says, so she basically in her response to me asking why am I brainwashed? She says, you are brainwashed to believe that because a person is a Democrat, they automatically support all things that Democrats believe and vice versa for Republicans. This is not the case. And so I replied this. I said, when did I say that? You created right there a straw man. What I'm saying is that if you are a Democrat and complain about the Black community, then you are a hypocrite. For its 60 plus years of liberal policies, not Republican, that have destroyed the Black community. I was an activist in DC for decades and have been involved in more Black causes as a liberal Democrat than you can imagine. So I am more far in tuned to the cause than you assert. And then I basically broke our questions down and answered them in little bites to make it easier to respond. And also, so that I wouldn't miss anything. So she says, it's just a matter of deciding whether party works best for you and supporting that party. It doesn't make a person bad because you are part of a chosen party. I said, see above. Okay. Then she goes on to say, to also paraphrase and make a comment that Black people are stupid and can't think for themselves is crazy. That's not what Biden meant. Okay, so no context. So I was saying that essentially, if you paraphrase the comment, what he's saying is that people can't think for themselves. I have a note here that I wrote down that this is essentially what Biden said. If you want to look at the logical fallacy, this is not one of them. He said basically, if you are Black, you have to support me. If you're not, then you're not Black. It's so bad that he apologized for it. So what are we talking about here? He already apologized. So what's the argument here? So essentially, yes, he did say that. He is basically essentially saying that Black people are stupid and they can't think for themselves. And so I basically said, okay, so where in Biden's segregation passed, which he has been segregation, a high-ranking KKK member, which is Robert Byrd, as his personal mentor, gives you the impression that that was not what he meant. I cannot even give him the benefit of doubt here. Okay. I also go on to say about the walk away movement and Brexit. You know, that I was actually accosted by a person at a meeting where they basically told me that, you know, they gave me the N-word because I told them I was going to vote for Romney. And I said, you know, the walk away and Brexit movements have hundreds of these people and these stories of Black liberals who have left the party due to this nonsense. You go see it for yourself. She goes on to say, does he need a speechwriter? Absolutely. But does he clearly saying that he was with hidden racism in this world and a lot of it being ignited by our 45th president, of course, blame it on Trump. How could you be Black and still support this man? Trump refers to African Americans as Blacks. Okay. Yeah, well, I didn't mention this in this particular response, but yeah, well, Blacks was a acceptable term for a long time. Remember the Black Power movement? Okay. Also, colored was also an acceptable term for a long time. And even Negro was an acceptable term for a long time. African Americans, to me, is not an acceptable term. To me, I'm sorry, I prefer Black because African American is just a whole other topic I won't get into. But she says, and this is my response. I say, but you cannot give Trump the same consideration. So essentially what they're saying is that, oh, it's not what he meant, whatever. But when it comes to when Trump says, he says, okay, you know, you won't give him that kind of grace. You won't give him any consideration, all right? I say it's shocking considering my aforementioned comments on Biden. I mean, Biden said a ton more stuff. In fact, let's take a look at a few things that Biden has said, just so we can be a little bit clear here. This first quote is him dealing with, well, with white kids being a little bit better than Black kids.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, Black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
All right, so this next quote is basically dealing with Somali cab drivers.
And in Minneapolis, St. Paul, we're working to build relations with the East African immigrants who have made your city their home, as the same folks have made, the Somalis have made my city of Wilmington, Delaware, on a smaller scale. It's a large, very identifiable Somali community. I might add, if you ever come to the train station with me, you'll notice that I have great relationships with them because there's an awful lot who are driving cabs.
Even call centers, which rushed overseas in the hundreds of thousands. How many times you get the call? I'd like to talk to you about your credit card, okay? Or that ad on TV. What is it?
Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there because all right, so all those were pretty much obviously they were what they were. Now, I've been around politics for a long time. People say things, they don't mean it, they have to walk it back. We're human beings. I get that. I get that. I have, quite frankly, I don't have so much of a problem with what he said, more than what I see if you tie that into his record. Okay. If it's just what he said, it's one thing, but let's look back to the segregationist record, but that's not really topical right now. So my big issue is they don't give the same credence or the same leeway for President Trump. The things he said is nowhere near, in my opinion, as egregious as that. And so that's the problem I have. And so this last quote here, or this last thing here, is a little bit out of context. No, actually, there's two more here. This one actually is going to be with the 7-Eleven comment that you heard about. I think this is 2008. Check this one out.
Manish, how are you, man? Well, good to see you. As you know, I got a lot of support from this Indian.
That's where, and more to come, I think.
Yeah,
so,
no, I've had a great relationship. In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. It's a fully, I'm not joking. Oh, gigantic. Gigantic.
All right, so that's a famous one. And this last one here is from the crime bill of 94.
Don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets. Don't.
All right, so check. All right, so again, now I will be fair about this last quote. That was cut up and chopped up, and there were some context issues on that. But just think, if I can do that and put that out there and find something that Trump said on that, can you imagine what the media would do with that? So I totally recognize that last one was cut up and it has some other things dealing with it, and it wasn't quite as bad as it particularly looked. But just imagine had Trump said that had he been a congressman or a senator at the time, that would have been brought up all over the place. You know, the Access Hollywood tape, which is an off-the-record deal that should never have been brought out because that's journalists used to have something called integrity. It used to be laws and rules for journalists, but they just don't do it. So it's off the record, it doesn't get published. But it happened. And I do talk about that a little bit here in this next tweet here. So, so I go on basically talking about that, and essentially that I say, you know, she talks about how this thing offends her. I said, look, if this offends you, consider this. For starters, you know, does it offend you that President Trump has done more for HBCUs than any president in history? You know, I gave her a reference to a link on my website, and I told her, you know, that those links were from Washington Post, from the Huffington Post, the Huffington Post and the Washington Post, I guess, yeah, Huffington. And so I said, Democrats are the ones who use racial identity politics, because she basically said, what is an African-American job? You know, because he says that Trump uses the word African-American job. Well, I said, Democrats are the ones who use identity politics for racial purposes. I said, it's obvious that he meant that as a counterweight argument to, that kind of consideration is only given to Democrats. Okay, see, they don't play by the same rules. They want to just put stuff out there as if to say that it's only Republicans that are doing this. You know, they don't say anything about the blackface issues that go on, or where they use the N-word. I say here, you know, she also mentioned the fact that President Trump said something about grabbing women by the genitals. I said he didn't say that. It's a lie. I said he never said that. He said it as a private citizen, as a billionaire, that if a woman was up on him, you know, that he could do it. You know, that's him talking as if to say, you know, very, very similar to what other people have said in the past, in private to other friends. I said, but of course, I'm sure you have never said anything negative about men in the privacy of your own home with your friends and family. So again, it's just a matter of misinformation. every time I have an argument with liberals, they tend to come up with the same issues over and over and over again. It's misinformation, it's emotion, and it's very frustrating. And so I wanted to give her the opportunity to come at me and say, hey, if I'm brainwashed, let me know. Because one thing I know is that cognitive dissonance is something that is a real thing. And I remember when I was voting for the first time for President Bush, I was scared. I'm not scared, but not at that point. When I first went to the website to look for volunteer stuff after 9/11, I started to say, hey, this is weird. I don't know. I don't like this. I feel very uncomfortable going to a Republican website. So I get that whole feeling, whatever. But you know what, guys? You just got to fight through it. You got to fight through that stuff, right? And say, hey, what's the best for our community? Just like Charlamagne the God said, Laura G. He said, this had nothing to do with Trump. I mean, in fact, Black people really like Trump. And here's another quote that actually I don't have here, actually. And we do have Jackie here on the line here, so I'm going to bring her in. But I want to say this here. This is something that he said in that interview, which hasn't gotten any play whatsoever. It's not an exact quote. It's a paraphrase. I'm trying to find the whole thing. But essentially, he said that, I get all over it. He said, I get overwhelming Black support. This is talking about Biden to Charlamagne, the lowercase G God. He says, look, man, whatever. Look at the polling. Look at the polling data. He said the polling data is falling. And some people say it's even off by 1%. And he goes on to say, hey, come on. I'm part of you guys. I'm one of you guys. And he's almost like he flippantly says, hey, you're supposed to vote for me because I am Joe Biden, because I am a Democrat. Simple as that. And it's that kind of arrogance that we've been trying to say for a long time that is just off-putting. It's that kind of arrogance that we have been saying in the walk-away movement for about a year and a half now, for Brexit for about a year now. Black people are just tired of it. They're tired of it. It's like Chris Rock. Even Sean Combs, Puffy, P. Diddy, whatever you want to call him. Even he said this is not right. I know the pulse in the Black community. There is no hard argument against Trump right now. They're going to go off on these old things. One of 4 arguments. It's going to be, oh, well, he did this thing back in his dad back in the 73, or he did this thing back with a casino. Maybe he was a mafia person and actually wanted him to remove all the Black dealers, which was also untrue and unfabricated. It's one of those things. And it's dealing with issues that have been set aside, resolved, and it's just not enough when you compare that on the weight of what Obama and Biden, for that matter, particularly Biden, has on their record. It's just no comparison. So with that, I'm done talking about that subject. I'm going to bring Jackie on. Let's see if she can hear me here. Jackie, are you there?
Here I am.
Did you get all that?
I did, but I have to say, I was a Democrat too for 35 years. I cried when Obama beat Hillary in that in the Democratic primary. What was that, like 2006, 7? I cried. Now, I wouldn't vote for Hillary if my life depended on it. So you just have to open your eyes, really. I think that's what it's all about. And you know what I was thinking about today? It's the control of the media. Why isn't that picture of Hillary Clinton and Robert Byrd like in every newspaper? Nobody talks about that. Was her mentor. I think that she gave the eulogy. I think she might have given the eulogy, or maybe her husband did when he died.
I believe
nobody
so, yeah.
talks.
Yeah, it's really off-putting, disconcerting, and yeah. So let me I brought you in here into the frying pan. Let's just back up a little bit. So how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. My name is Jax. Most people call me. I'm very opinionated, like Kyle. We are related, as a matter of fact. One of our greatest nights was the election night when Donald J. Trump, we were online together. Me, you, and my other friend Maria were online till like 3 a.m. We couldn't believe what happened. And we just have a lot of thoughts and ideas about the world and things that are going on in it. And I do think most people are afraid to speak up unless it's the outrage. You know, the outrage is very popular. But other than that, you know, people don't do thinking about situations and seeking the truth. Right.
That's the really thing. I tell you, it's painful. It hurts to to have your ideas challenged. It's even more painful to actually do something about it.
And it's work, because you can't go by the headlines, and you can't go by like Google News. You have to really research things to see the truth. I think that the only solution would be a truly fair and balanced media. Even Facebook. Look at people that are getting censored on Facebook for saying that you shouldn't have to wear a mask. And people are putting a lot of things up, and we know. Look, I don't think anybody knows the truth about this virus till maybe a year from now.
Right.
But you can't even say something negative about WHO or the CDC, and Facebook and Twitter remove it. That's crazy. That's book burning to me.
Yeah, they will demonetize anything on your channel if you do anything with CDC or World Health Organization.
Why isn't? I mean, this is a free country. Everybody should be allowed to have their opinion, and I think the only solution for that is for us to have a separate media. I mean, maybe it would just be the battle, continue to be the battling medias, but there has to be a place where people can speak freely.
There has to be. I know Reddit is out there, but even that's being regulated as well. And even Discord, I have a Discord server, even that's being regulated now, believe it or not. That was a free space, open source technology. Even that's being inundated with that controlling nature.
What happened to that? Remember, we were all going to be on this page that was similar to Facebook, and everybody.
There was MeWe. There was MeWe, and there's a bunch of other ones.
MeWe, that was it.
Yep. That Facebook was really at the time. It's just really developed. You really can't compete with it. You're not going to compete with Facebook at Facebook's game.
Right.
That's why Snapchat has done so well, and that's why TikTok has done so well. It's social media, but it's different. It's different enough that it can maybe take down Facebook. But Facebook is such a behemoth now. They pretty much buy off anything they think is going to be a threat. They buy WhatsApp, or they buy whatever they think is going to be there, and they just buy it up so they won't come after them at some point in time.
We're going to have to think of another plan. I won't put TikTok on my phone. Matter of fact, my last phone I got, I took it off.
I did too.
But I don't know what people are just like sheep. They really are like sheep. Everybody's using the TikTok, and we all know it's owned by the Chinese Communist Party. And by using TikTok, from everything I read, it gives the Chinese Communist Party full access to everything you put in your phone, all your data, all your information. I don't like that. It's not even the U.S. military is not allowed to have it on their phones.
I didn't know that. I just like it. I personally didn't like it because I just thought it was just weird.
Oh, the kids love it. It's so hot right now. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are younger, and they're all bragging about how many followers they have on TikTok. Huh. And the videos that you make on there, they're like 30 seconds, and people are going nuts for it.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So I want to just show you. I have some. We have a topic here, obviously. So this is a top 3 show. We did discuss this prior to. I have some graphics here that I put on here. And I'm going to show the first one we talked about was the "You Ain't Black." We did that, but now we're going to talk about a more haunting or not really cool story. This comes to us from Maryland, and I talked to my cop buddy on this one. I'm sorry I can get you out of there, but I'm going to put up. I'm going to get it off here on the screen here. But basically,
how dare you?
I know I got to figure out how to get that and get you off. But married couple, 85, 86 years old, were shot dead at Delaware Veterans Cemetery, and I believe that's the suspect right there. So Jackie, this was your topic. So I read the article. I talked to my cop buddy up in Maryland, who's been on the show a couple of times, and he also talked about, but what's your take on this? And do you have any information about it? Number one.
Well, the latest information I did, of course, look it up before now. But first of all, let me just say this. This is a very, 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 very sad story. And it's even sadder because no one's upset about it, it seems. The media is ignoring it. And here's the problem. There can be more than one bad thing. Do you know what I mean? Somebody getting shot is sad no matter what their color is and no matter who shot them. But what bothers me, and I can tell you from my viewpoint, I would say most white people, and I'm going to say lower middle class to upper class, are terrified of being called racist. We can't have it. I don't really know anybody that uses the N word except for like the kids do now. But other than that, nobody uses that word.
But with an A. With an A.
Right. Everybody's afraid to publicly be caught saying something.
Right.
And what has happened is the pendulum has swung so far that you can't say anything negative about anybody with a skin that's darker than mine at all. And it's ridiculous. You know, I remember one time when I was in my teenager and we went to Dorney Park, which is an outdoor water park. And these black kids kept cutting the line in front of everybody, you know, and it was like the line was like an hour long. And these 3 black kids kept cutting in, going right to the front and just looking at everybody and taking the ride. Nobody said a word.
Yeah.
Nobody said a word because they didn't want to be called racist.
Yep.
So, and I've seen that happen so many times. And you know what? Maybe I've even done it myself. But now, I just try to be fair. And this couple who are 86 and 85 go to the cemetery every single day to their son's grave. He died in 2017. So they went to the grave that day. Nobody knows why. The assailant, who is also dead, went up behind the father and shot him point blank in the head and then shot the mother. And the mother died right there. The father got to the hospital, but he died at the hospital. The family has no idea why. Oh, the police did chase the suspect down, and I think they got in a gun battle with him. His name is Sheldon Francis. He's 29 years old. They found him dead from a gunshot wound in the neighborhood, and they don't know yet if he killed himself or the police shot him in the gun battle. But why?
Senseless.
Why? I mean, it wasn't like they were in a bad neighborhood. They didn't do anything wrong, and the national media is silent on this. And I think the core of it is, I hate to say this.
No, you got to say it.
I know people say it. A lot of white people go, well, that's just what black people do. Like, we just have to accept it. And I think that's the most racist tone of all. Because why can't everybody, no matter your color, be held to a certain moral standard?
Thank you.
Why? That's more racist. It's more racist to say, well, they're black, they're poor, they didn't know, they didn't have a father. That is bullcrap. That is such bullcrap, and that is more racist. And I feel like if I went on Facebook and expressed this, people would kill me. But I think it's more racist to not expect people of any color not to live up to a standard that we have in this country of a certain set of principles. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I can't agree more. In fact, we talked about this a little bit when we were discussing this topic. And I said that there was a video that Kingface did. Well, let me back up. So Kingface is a personality with Brexit. He's a former gang member. He is a hip hop guy, rapper, whatever. He's tatted up, whatever. He's, all that. But he's super cool. We talk on the phone, so forth. But I did several videos on him on a debate series where he went against a really highly intellectual liberal. And you can see that on my channel. I'm not trying to plug it. Well, I am trying to plug it. But check that out. But in the end of that, he basically says this. He says, look, why is it that, to your point, Jax, why is it that when we come to a situation where there's black people killing black people, why is there no outrage? He said, you know why? Because it's expected. It's expected. Because it's just like when people go to war and they get killed, we say it's tragic, whatever, but we just an uproar because we unfortunately expect people to die in war. And it's the same kind of thing. To your point, I've been arguments online with people. They'll say, well, we've been desensitized and this and that. I think that's true. But I think it's also the fact that that desensitivity also comes in the fact of expectation. We're expecting it to be that way. So our mind saying this, so that when this narrative doesn't fit, I think this doesn't fit the narrative because they have an agenda. That's my personal opinion. But it's not something they want to talk about because it's just anything they can actually grasp around and then sell it because no one's going to want to hear it.
It just blows my mind. I have many black friends that are doctors, lawyers, masters prepared social workers. I really think we'd be better in this country not to talk about color at all. Like, let's just talk about people. Because I think the major difference is poor people and rich people. That's where you really see the difference in behaviors and outcomes. And it has nothing to do with skin color. But I did pull up this statistics. Black male teenagers are 9 times more likely to commit murder than a white male teenager. And almost always the victim is another black male. Of 400,000 annual non-homicide violent black versus white, compared to white versus black crimes, 85% are black perps against a white victim. A cop is 18 times more likely to be killed by a black male than an unarmed black male is likely to be killed by a cop. But every time somebody whips out their camera and takes a video of a police shooting, or there's an article about it, the whole nation goes bananas. Yeah. And it almost feels if you don't get upset, then you're racist.
Right. Right.
Which I really hate. I mean, somebody told me once, if I don't vote for Obama, it's because I'm a racist. And it made me so angry, which is sort of like Joe Biden saying, if you don't vote for me, you're not really black. Listen, blacks kill more blacks, 7,000 annually, than the KKK did in its entire history. Like, this is not acceptable behavior. I worked at Rikers Island for 3 years, and I worked in a lot of other prisons in Pennsylvania and New York. I loved my patients. I really cared about them. And most of them, not all of them, but most of them had horrible lives, horrible upbringing. I would read their charts sometimes and I would cry and I'd be like, God, what can I possibly do here to help these people? But it's just become so, first of all that murder and all that's in the charts. So like that has an impact on people.
Yeah. And
also I noticed that a lot of times it's just like expected you're going to go to jail. Now, see, here's the difference, though. It's not about color. I think it's about color / socioeconomic. Your family would be shocked if you went to jail. They'd be like, what? But amongst lower income people of color, it's just like, he's in jail, he's out of jail. It's like no big deal. And I think that's what we should reject.
Yes.
That kind of behavior.
Yeah, what's the statement, the low expectation, I got the quote wrong. It's basically the problem of low expectation. So you have a low expectation, and that's the soft bigotry of low expectation. And so, we don't strive for more because we don't expect more. And so that's a whole separate cultural issue. But I think you hit it around the head when you said rich versus poor. And when I talked to your brother as well, he mentioned about culture. And I mentioned this also online, basically that, not your brother, I'm sorry, it'd be your cousin, I guess. But when they're dealing with thug culture, that the thug culture mentality in our society is what's really hurting the Black community. I mean, obviously, I'm sorry?
So much. It's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I have reasons for that, which is a whole nother video, another discussion.
We could do a whole show about that too.
Yeah, and so let me just say this, and I'll be pretty much off. That's because I don't have much more to say other than that. This is horrible and tragedy, but when that gentleman was killed, what's the guy's name who was killed, shot by the two guys? He was at a place and he maybe reached for the gun and they shot him with a shotgun. It came out like 2 weeks ago or
Ahmaud Marbury.
Yeah, that really hit the roof. And I'm going to go on the record and say this. Obviously, it's a tragedy. The law should play itself out. We should have due process. But I'm not going to overreact because two white guys killed a black guy. Okay. First of all, was it racially motivated? It very well could have been. But here's the deal. I would be a hypocrite if I overreacted there and didn't overreact to other things that are going on in the Black community, which are way more pervasive. And when I see the media particularly manipulate the situation to get people riled up, that pisses me off. And so I back away from it for the simple fact of I'm not going to respond to that because I know what they're trying to do. Do I still feel sorry for the person's family? Absolutely. Do I still think the whole thing was tragic and horrible? Everybody involved? Absolutely. But people assume because you take a position of, well, let's look, wait and see. Maybe it's not racist. Maybe it is, whatever. Then all of a sudden you're one way. It's almost like what Trump said. Look, I'm going to wait to see what the thing is at Charlottesville. I'm going to wait and see and then make a statement. That's what smart people do. They wait and see before they make something stupid and go off on emotion.
Especially since we know the media doesn't give you the whole story. So the two things I want to say about that are, one, that's what made me pull these statistics was that, because to me, that's like complaining about an ingrown toenail when your body's full of cancer. Yes, that's bad, and that ingrown toenail hurts, but you better take a look at the whole problem, the big problem, which is all the young Black men that are vital to the community that could be doing good things and great things. Their fathers, maybe their husbands, they're somebody's son, and I'm the mother of two sons, and they're dead in the streets for what? For what? And it's over the most. It's for nothing. It's for nothing. And the other thing I want to say is, you know, I know that there's racism, and you know, today that word gets thrown around constantly. Everybody's a racist, but you can even be racist, but you're not hunting people down with a gun. So to my thinking, and somebody got really upset with me and said, yes, it was racism. I'm like, well, I think there's more to that. You could even be racist and you never lift your finger against somebody. But
Right.
those two men, if it plays out as it appears to be, they're more than racist. They're a little bit sick in the head too, to chase somebody down with a gun like that. Wouldn't you call the police? Like a normal person would just call the police, not
Right.
jump in the truck and chase them with two guns. That's insane. So
Right.
that's all I got to say about that.
Right. Right. Exactly. So that's a touchy one to even take a position on. But I think due process is a thing. And I'll say one quick thing on this one. So I said something about it, or maybe it was this case, something different. No, it wasn't this case. It was something different, but similar. Something where someone was killed and they didn't know who it was. Oh, it was the Redskins player. I forget who it was. It was the cornerback last week got arrested for 4 counts of whatever.
Burglary or something?
Yeah. He was actually now he's playing for a different team. Washington traded him, but it doesn't matter. So then someone says, well, were you guys really it sounds to me like you guys were there and know everything that happened and know all the facts. I said, oh yeah, just like Justice Kavanaugh.
Right. What about that?
You know what I'm saying? So I know this guy was anti-Kavanaugh. So come on, dude. So that's what I'm talking about. That's why this whole channel exists, because this is the hypocrisy and this pearl clutching stuff is just get away from me with that stuff. So anywho, anyway, this next one's fun. I think we decided to keep the next topic a little lighter.
Yeah. Number 3. Number 3, people.
Yeah. So this particular one was Maryland couple, and you can see what the next one's going to be about Melissa Milano, actress, if you want to call her that. I'm gonna cut you off here.
Former actor.
Sorry. So anyway, I want to show you this because this is a knitted mask, and obviously you can see it. You can zoom in and see it's holes in it. So that's why this is what this discussion is about. Twitter kind of blew up. I didn't really follow this, but we need something light to talk about at the last minute, and this is what we kind of decided to talk about. So we can kind of go anywhere from here. So.
Well,
Jackie?
people did blow up about it. That's what's hilarious. First of all, as a rule, I can't stand her. I'll be honest. I can't stand her. I remember when Kavanaugh's hearing when she was sitting like right behind one of the lawyers, like she was president, executive director of the universe, and her opinion really matters. We have to stop worshiping celebrity opinion. But she usually is very outspoken. However, the only thing she has not been outspoken on is Tara Reid and Joe Biden. But other than that, she tweets her opinion. So she had tweeted out that picture, and people immediately, because when you put yourself out there like that, people like to attack you, and you did it to yourself. And everyone attacked her. So she actually took the mask apart and took pictures of the carbon filter that was inside. And then her fans, people in her posse, also put pictures online of carbon filters and how they work. And as a person that isn't wearing a mask, like who even cares? Like how much of our life do we devote to these celebrities and their idiotic opinions? Which
begs, well, let me ask you your first question there. Number one, too much.
Too much.
Way too much. And we could, and it was funny because when Kanye West came out and he did his thing, I had to pull myself back from not being overly excited about that, right? I mean, you know, people were really, but with Kanye, it was a little bit different. But even with that, you still got to, you know, tap it down and understand nothing what he said detracted from the truth. I mean, so if he said something true today, if he does something crazy tomorrow, it doesn't detract what he did before. They'll use that to discredit him, but it doesn't change that he was right about it. So,
well, that could happen to you or I. People could go through our life and pick out things and say, you know, even if I said something 100% true today, they'd be like, well, she's divorced. You're like, what is she? You know what I mean? Like they could say something about all of us, but that's what the media does. Do you think that people are the same as do you think that people, the general public, is like the media, or do you think they're different?
I think people are like, I'm sorry, I said I'm not.
No, what I'm trying to say is, you know how the media is like, somebody does one thing, the media decides to either excoriate them and ruin their life or praise them, regardless sometimes whether it seems like the thing was truly good or truly bad. And what I'm saying is, I think the media's opinion is not most people's opinion. And I
Oh,
think
yeah,
they
yeah.
stir it up and they get everybody going and they get them fired up. I mean, what do you think?
I think people have their own thoughts process. I think what ends up being is that people actually end up the ones that dig into the well, I think it plays itself out, especially with social media. I'll give you a good example. Trump will say something. He'll say something like, "The sky's blue," whatever, and they'll say, "Okay, well, no, it's technically like an aquamarine, whatever." But then, as people realize, well, aquamarine is really a subset of blue, and so it works its way out through social media where people can actually see that he wasn't as crazy as they said he was, but the ones who are on the far right or either side aren't going to budge off that position. I think right now we're in a fight for the middle of America. We're in a fight for
the middle. You're right.
We're just a fight for the people and independence. Which, by the way, sorry Democrats, Trump is doing really well here, but I think what's happening is people are seeing as they're breaking away from the Democrat Party with seeing this nonsense going on. I did a video of a lady who was part of the knitting community, who's a big Democrat, and now she's blowing up all over the place, doing interviews, how she was disenfranchised because she was knitting, for goodness sake. She said, look, I hate Trump. I pretty much hate Republicans, but if I want to be honest, I should at least hang around them to at least know if what I'm saying is true, whatever. She goes to a Trump rally, writes an article about it saying, hey, Trump isn't that bad. Neither are his people. And she
the
gets
supporters were nice.
Yeah,
Right?
she gets hammered.
Hammered.
So that's what I'm saying. And so that's those people. She's been shifted to the middle, right, a little bit. And
Yeah,
so will she vote for Trump? She probably will, but she might not. But if she doesn't vote for Biden, that's still a loss for the Democrats.
Right. Well, I think that, and even that hydrochloroquine business, because this is what the real story is. When my family got COVID, guess what the doctor ordered? And everybody knows that people are in the public are taking hydrochloroquine. And they also know that it's not going to kill you. And the media acts like it's a poison pill and that Trump is, I mean, it was just so ridiculous. But the more outrageous the media gets, I think it's driving supporters towards Trump all the time. I think the Kavanaugh, people that were, like, I never loved Trump before he ran for president. I know exactly when I started liking him. Remember when he was walking out to debate with Ben Carson and he did something? Do you remember that? He
held the door. He waited for him. He waited for him.
Yes. And I was like, maybe this guy isn't the rotten jerk that everybody says he is. And and the more the media picked on him, the more I liked him because I love underdogs. So I think when they are outrageous like this, I think it drives more people to say like, well, I don't really love the guy, but he's had the country for almost 4 years and things are going okay. I'm going to vote for him.
Yeah, I think what I said early on, I don't want to get this big discussion on Trump. I could talk about him forever. But what I was saying early on is that because back in 2016 or 2015, the Republican Party was really fragmented. You had evangelical Christians like the Ted Cruzes and so forth. You had the ideologues. You had the people who are in the middle, like like Bush and like the guy down in Florida, the Latino gentleman. Thank you. So it was fragmented, right? And Trump came in basically. You had the woman from HP. You had Carson. So you had the ones who were kind of like the outsiders. And so what Trump was able to do was he was able to, I call peel away certain segments of demographics. A little bit of blacks, a little bit of blue dog Democrats who voted for Reagan back in the day, a little bit of the urban community who are tired of seeing the community mess up. They want to see revitalization happening. All these different segments are being just small enough as a collective. Totally was the reason why he won. He turned the Republican Party from a country club conservative party, which was back in the 70s all the way up to the 90s, to a big tent party, which is what the Democrats pride themselves in having.
Which they're not at all. I tell you, I remember, and even like McCain and the Never Trumpers, Mitt Romney, I have no respect for those people, though. Here we are, we're in a position where we could do some good. And by the way, it's not because, Trump really did good things for the country. Ask Tim Scott. He really reflects how he didn't like Trump when they had a meeting. And
he didn't. Yeah.
Opportunity zone thing came out. He's doing good things for the country. Do you not care about the country at all? I don't get that thinking.
And that was my response to the lady in that chat I had. I said, are you offended at the fact that he's done more for HBCUs than any president in history? And I backed it up with Washington Post, Huffington Post.
Oh yeah.
I backed it up with HBCU. I forget the name of the official website there. I showed numbers and I show where the presidents of HBCUs. By the way, I went to one, right? So I knew back when he wasn't doing stuff for my school. I'm talking about Obama here, and I just saw that, so I'm like, does that offend you, the fact that he's doing this? I mean, and that's just one aspect of what he's done for the Black community. He's done so much more that it's really, I could do a 2-hour video on just what he's done for the Black community, just from what opportunity zones.
Speaking of Obama, what did Joe Biden say about Obama? What did he call him?
He says he's clean and he speaks so well.
Clean and well spoken. He's a unicorn, didn't he say? He's a unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Biden. I'm working on something about him. I don't want to spoil it, but I got some special.
We'll tease it. We'll tease it.
Yeah. It's gonna be a one-stop shop for his love for the. Well, it's gonna be a one-stop shop for his borderline racial insensitivity, maybe.
He's got more than that. I mean, swimming naked in front of female Secret Service. What do you call that?
What was that?
We should tell people, anybody that watches this video, send Kyle an email about what we can talk about next time.
Oh, yeah. You can send it to suggsmedia@gmail.com. Suggsmedia@gmail.com.
And I'll be on the show again.
Yeah. And if you want to, well, I want to vet people first, but I wouldn't mind having a third person on here, or whatever. But
I have somebody in mind, actually, but we'll talk about it. Okay. And it doesn't have to be this format. It can be a different format. We can do a whole different thing. A longer form broadcast. I try to keep this under about an hour, 40 minutes. I think an hour is good. Nobody wants to hear us after.
No one. Yeah. I get that. So besides, we covered everything we want to talk about. Is there anything you want to talk about outside of this, or? No, I'm good. I'm good. I think I have 1,000 thoughts, but I'll save some for the next show. Okay. All right. So again, I'm not sure how often I would do this. Probably in about 4 or 5 days. If something breaks quickly, we'll do something differently. But we'll just have to see. So, all right. With that, thank you, Jax, for coming out. And my name is Kyle again, and this is the Conservative Take channel. If you like what we do here, please take consideration and hit that like and subscribe button and that bell icon so you can get all notifications for future content. And please share it with your friends because it helps to grow this channel. We're trying to grow this thing to 10,000 subscribers as quickly as possible and make a real impact. And so with that, thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. Thank you. And thank you as well. And I will talk to you guys next time.